Today, we're talking about something that gets overlooked a lot when people start focusing on their health, and that's their sleep schedule. Now, I think sleep definitely gets overlooked in general, but particularly want to talk about scheduling today and not just getting enough sleep, but actually going to bed and waking up at consistent times because sleep isn't just about the number of hours. The timing and consistency for your sleep matters just as much.
And I'm guilty too. A lot of times when we talk about fitness, we're talking about workouts, nutrition, supplements, all these other things. Now, even stress is becoming more common. But sleep schedule is something that is all over the place, and we don't talk much about it. And that really affects everything else. And we've talked about setting up a really good, really strong bedtime routine, and there's a lot of different things you can do that. But I really feel like the one lever that's just super powerful is a consistent sleep time and a consistent wake time.
Yeah, and this matters because your body runs on a circadian rhythm. So, your body has an internal clock that controls things like when you feel awake, when you feel tired, hormone production, metabolism, digestion. And that clock works best when your sleep and your wake times are consistent. If you're going to bed at 10 at one night and then midnight the next, then 1 a.m. on the weekend, your body never fully settles into a rhythm. And that's when people start feeling super tired or wired at night or groggy in the morning, even despite if they're getting their 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, sleep timing doesn't just affect our energy either. I know that's one thing we talk about. We wake up, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. But like you said, it affects hormones, in particular, hunger hormones, cravings, stress levels. When you're tired, there's much more chance that you're going to get stressed out about things in life. Recovery from workouts, focus during the day. So even just like one night of shorter sleep can increase hunger hormones and decrease satiety signals the next day. And that's one reason why people notice that they crave a lot more sugar or they crave snacks when they're really tired. So one of the biggest things that we see is people trying to catch up on sleep. I think you probably hear that a lot, or you maybe if you're listening to this, you do this often. For example, maybe you'll sleep 5 or 6 hours a night during the week. And then, all right, here we go. Saturday. Well, actually, let's start the night before. Friday night. I've earned it. It's been a long week. I want to stay out a little bit later, whether it's just to hang out at home or you go out and do something. And then you're like, oh man, Saturday morning is the best. I'm sleeping in a couple hours. Even on Sunday, even if you go to church, there are late church services, people will sleep in then and go to church late. But that actually shifts your internal clock again. And what happens is Monday morning ends up feeling like you would like when you get jet lag. And so you wake up and of course you're like, oh my gosh, like it's Monday. Just Monday alone, a lot of people get stressed out about, but now your circadian rhythms are all thrown off and you don't feel great. So the consistency usually works better than trying to make up sleep for sure. So if you're trying to improve sleep, let's start simple. Aim for a consistent window. Get into bed about the same time each night, and then wake up about the same time every morning. It doesn't have to be perfect, 15, 30, 40 minutes window type of thing. But that to me, I think there can be a little more flexibility when you go to bed because I understand there's a lot of stuff going on at night. But I say in the morning, hit alarm, set alarm for when you want to wake up and do that every day, Monday through Sunday, vacation, anytime. And I'm telling you, I know people will start whining and groaning about this, but you're going to feel so much better and you have more for your day, instead of sleeping half your days off away, you're gonna have a much better day, and you're gonna feel much better as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I hate, like, cause honestly, I'm guilty of this a little bit on the weekends. It's like, "Oh, I just want a slower morning, I'll sleep in a little bit more." I will say, I don't think my timing it's probably, like, an hour. It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna sleep in, it's gonna be till, like, 7," and even that's I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're really we're really going crazy here," but I do feel that way. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I've wasted the whole day, I feel like I'm just behind." I don't like that feeling personally, but yeah, I feel like this is definitely something that I could be a little bit better personally with just being a little bit more consistent, especially on the weekends, because it is easy to get into that cycle. Are you pretty consistent with yours? I know you're pretty dialed with your morning wake ups. Do you find that it's easy to stay on track on the weekends too?
Oh, yeah, I have no problem with it. Now, sometimes I'll sleep like, when I say sleep in, it's like 15 or 30 minutes. Like, I typically wake up about 4:30, and my sleeping in might be like, maybe I'll go to 4:45 or maybe 5,
Yeah.
it's not that much, and And but yeah, and actually, like this week, I've been waking up a few minutes earlier just for fun. I know people are like, "This guy's a nut," and he's
That does
like,
sound fun.
but I love it. It's funny because you go to the gym Monday through Friday, 6:30, 7 o'clock. It is packed. There's so many people in there. And then I go on Saturday, and there's like 8 people, and it's like the same 7 people. And I will say that something that's really cool is this guy comes in on Saturday mornings, and he brings his 2 little boys,
Aw.
and they run on the treadmill, and I keep wanting to ask to take a picture of them, be like, all right, this 8-year-old is on a treadmill 7 a.m. on a Saturday. Like, what are you doing right now?
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty. I love the morning, anyways. And kind of a side note, some people are like, "Oh, I'm not a morning person," but there's tons of research that shows that no one's really a morning or night person. Most people, it's just what they decide to become. And if you do want to start waking up earlier, it's going to take a little bit of time, but you can establish that just like with any other routine that you got going on, and you can become more of a morning person as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's just an identity that people attach to because it's a little bit uncomfortable to change it. It's like one of those things you can mold. It's just based on your habits and what you've been doing habitually. So you can become a morning person. It's not something that's wired in your DNA. It's like you can change it.
And I haven't always been like this. I used to be just like everyone else. I would, sleep as late as I could or whatever. And then on the weekends, I would sleep in a little bit later. But once I started waking up really early, I realized how much I love it. It's just so much the world is just so much quieter and much more peaceful. And I really enjoy my mornings. My morning routine is fantastic. I just so much enjoy it. I don't know if you can tell or not.
Big morning guy, big protein guy.
Yes.
No, I'm with you on that for sure. But even going back to your point too on the jet lag is I feel like a lot of people have experienced that. It's like you sleep so long, you're like, oh, I got 9, 10 hours of sleep. Why do I feel so tired? Or even if you're like, you get your 8 hours, you're like, you wake up, you're like, oh man, like, why do I feel tired? It's because your schedule is off likely.
Yeah, it is, and just think about it. I mean, your mind and your body's just trying to catch up. You're like, all right, it's getting so used to this certain amount of time during the week, and then all of a sudden the weekend it's just like completely different. You're like, all right, let's try to catch up to this. Then on Monday, boom, it's totally different again. It just really throws you off.
Yeah, so we want to go over a couple quick practical ways to actually implement this. One being set a consistent wake up time first. Like you were saying, a lot of people focus on the bedtime, but I think the wake up time is actually going to be a bigger anchor for your circadian rhythm. So instead of trying to force yourself to sleep earlier, start by waking up around the same time every day, and your body is naturally going to start getting tired earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's there's so much more out of your control, I think, in the evening and things that go on in people's lives. I think the morning is where you have a way more control over. And especially if you're just trying to establish this, set that time every day and just try to do that. And yeah, I would do that first for sure. And you'll feel so much better.
Yeah, and speaking of morning, get that morning sunlight in the first hour upon waking if you can. This is one of the simplest ways to regulate your internal clock. There's so many studies on how beneficial this is too. Even just 5, 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning is going to help signal to your brain that it's time to be awake. And it's going to make it easier to feel tired at night.
Yeah. And even if there's no sunlight per se out there, you still get the effects of it, the benefits of it. I actually saw a post from our buddy Kevin who we interviewed a couple weeks ago, and it was just a picture of like the sunlight. You could tell that he was sitting there. I was like, "Oh, that is a spot right there, man. I love it." So
Yeah, exactly. And even too, it's like when you wake up, if the sun isn't up, like turn on a bunch of lights, like start that process when you're at home. And then when you can get out in the sun, go and do it.
well, and if you can get a little walk in as well, especially if you have a dogs or something like that, bonus. Such a great way to start your day.
Hmm.
So the other thing, or number three, I guess we're going to talk about is kind of create like a wind down cue at night. So if we're talking about, hey, let's improve our nighttime routine, just little things that tell your brain, hey, we're signaling that the day is coming to an end, turning the lights down, reading a book, stretching, putting your phone away, obviously getting off of social media, basically doing things that say, hey, we're going to start slowing down. I'm trying to get ready for bed. So let's slow things down and let's get ready for shutting our eyes and going to sleep.
Yeah, we did a whole episode a couple weeks. I think it was a couple weeks. I don't even know if it with the order of when it's coming out, but one of the most recent ones, we did a whole episode on evening routine. So go reference that for this and find a good flow that helps prime your mind and your body for sleep.
Yeah. And then we had mentioned this too, but try to keep weekends as consistent as you can. Obviously, a lot of times weekends are very different than Monday through Friday, and they don't have to be perfect. But like we said, if your wake up time is like 6 o'clock, 6:30 during the week, and then on Saturday and Sunday it's like 10 or 10:30, it's basically like traveling across time zones, and that causes jet lag, and we all know what it feels like when you have jet lag. So even just staying within an hour or so makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and to your point, you said start with the mornings, like, let's get that dialed in first, and if it is a big adjustment and you need to, reel in your wake up time you've been sleeping in, recommend doing this in small chunks. So it's like move your wake up time earlier by 15 minutes. Do that for a few days, do that for a week, do it another 15 minutes, and just repeat that cycle until it's where you want. So that way it also isn't a big jump. You can do this like on the nighttime side and in the morning side. So it's like a good way to ease into it without giving yourself that jet lag either, or like being a big jump or waking up super, super tired. Just like your body will naturally adapt and it'll just feel like normal routine because it's just 15-minute increments. You don't really notice that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's kinda like going to work out. You don't wanna first time you ever work out, go in there for 2 hours, 7 days a week. You'll just burn yourself out quickly. Same type of thing here. If you normally sleep in a couple hours later and you try to completely shut that off and wake up 2 hours for that, it may be very difficult. So, yeah, kind of slowly adapt to that. I think that's a great point. All right, another thing is, and this is something that I used to have issues with, and of course, it was a mental thing, and it caused me to lose more sleep. But like, don't panic if sleep isn't perfect, right? So the consistency matters more than perfection. Some nights are going to be off. Sometimes you're gonna sit there and try to fall asleep, and all of a sudden, all these things are gonna start going through your brain, and that's what would cause so much stress in my life is I would go to sleep, or I'd lay down, and then I'd start thinking about all these things. Then I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not getting any now I'm losing sleep. I can't go to sleep." And I would, like, tell myself, and before you know it, as I'm panicking over losing the sleep, and so it's like, hey, and I finally tell myself, "Hey, you know what? Okay, I'm thinking about these things. What am I gonna fall asleep like 20 minutes later now? It's not gonna be that big of a deal." So, just realizing that every night is not gonna be perfect. The goal is just to create that rhythm that your body can rely on, and most of the nights you'll fall asleep pretty quickly, and that's all that matters.
We've all been there. We're like, "All right, I really gotta go to sleep," or usually it's like before a big trip or like something, or like for me, it's like a volleyball tournament. Like, "All right, I gotta get my good sleep. I gotta be on my best performance. Let's go." And I'm just sitting there, just like stressing about trying to get to sleep, and then I don't sleep, and then I'm more stressed because I know I'm like, "Oh, I can't sleep. It's gonna affect." It's just a vicious cycle. We've all been there.
Yeah, and it can be great things. You can be super excited about it. It doesn't have to be, like, stressful in a bad way. But yeah, I think it's funny when that's why I used to watch TV all the time when I went to bed because it would it would help my mind to shut off and just think about the TV, which was, like, numbing, and I would just fall asleep. But I finally got to a point where I didn't need any TV. It was just, hey, I was able to relax on my own. And we talked about that also in our episode on the evening, routines as well.
Yeah. This Like I said, it's something that I work on, but even too recently, I've been adjusting my schedule a lot and really focusing on sleep. And for me, I found that my sleep schedule does cycle a little bit depending on what I have, because I do have like a lot of social events, whether I'm walking with a friend or usually it's volleyball that keeps me up a little bit later at night. So it's like on those days, my bedtime gonna be a little later, and then therefore I'm gonna push my wake up time a little later too. But it always is within like it's never like an hour, like that's at max. Like, I think it is okay, again, going back to what you said, like, don't panic if it's not perfect, like, it will cycle, you will have those days where something comes up or you gotta get up extra early or whatever it is, but overall, it's just, like, generally, are we consistent with that? What does it look like 90% of the time, 80% of the time? I think that's gonna be the most important thing.
Right. It's all about consistency. And I would even say, even on nights that you stay up a little bit later, still wake up at the same time and try that and see how your body responds to it.
Yeah, overall, a lot of people look for complicated solutions to feeling tired, but sometimes it's just giving your body that structure and that rhythm, going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time. And when that becomes consistent, everything else, as far as your energy, your training, your nutrition, it tends to get easier. So, if you're someone who's trying to get more consistent with things like this, your routines, your sleep, your nutrition, training, that's exactly what we focus on inside our free community. It's a place where we share resources, guides, and we have conversations like this to help people simplify their health and actually stay consistent with it. So, that's something you want to be a part of. I'll put that link to join in the show notes. Again, totally free. And as always, if this episode was helpful, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future episodes. Share it with a friend, and we'll catch you on the next one.